Hello and welcome to Meet the Candidates, and this time we're talking to the candidates for Vice President of Sports. So on the sofa I have with me Theo and Casey, and we're going to get to know them a little bit and see what they have to say. So we'll start with something super easy. Just who are you and why did you apply to be a candidate for VP of Sports? Grab the mic.
Hello, I'm Theo Leveson. And I'm running for VP Sports because it's basically all I do at uni. My degree has definitely taken a backseat because I just love all my mates in sport, like organising events, being on committee, helping people, like have fun basically, and like really get something out of uni they might not have got out of it otherwise.
Cassey?
Hi, I'm Casey Osborne. You should vote me VP Sports. These cameras, yeah?
Yeah, there are cameras.
You should vote me because I love sports as well. I do IM and we are so underrated. I'm your IM officer, but like I've been doing my most out here. Not gonna lie, they're not rating me. But as VP Sports, hopefully they'll rate me a little bit. And yeah, currently I do reception at SUSU, so I do all the admin. So you know the sports bursary, super important stuff. Thank you, Matt, current VP of Sports, he does it. I do all the admin, so I know how that works. Next year, I will make sure that'll be going ahead in semester 1 and 2, because right now it's only semester 2. But yeah, that's important stuff. Inclusivity, no boundaries in sports. Let's get it.
All right,
oh yeah, sorry. Shout out to Knock Mermaids. Ooh.
Well, talking about inclusivity, obviously a really important part of sport is broadening its appeal and like trying to get the widest number of students involved. So how are you keen to broaden sports appeal here at uni?
Okay, so most of the stuff I do is either a water sport or like an extreme sport. And I think the barrier to that is like so much higher than something like, I don't know, football, where you can just kind of go buy a football, kick it about with your mates. So I really want to focus on making like traditionally like middle class privileged sports a lot more accessible, give better funding to kind of open it up. Especially like swim lessons and stuff. I've literally just like, I got soak on my hair, don't know if you could see, but like I'm doing a swim teacher course because I'm really passionate about getting people into the water and getting like a skill that could save their life, and you might not have had, access to that. I mean, a lot of people don't have access to that, and I was really lucky that I did, and I want to help more people to do it.
Awesome. Casey?
Oh, that was really good. Yeah, so obviously Theo's amazing. That was great. But I want to do a bit more. Sorry. So, oh shoot, I feel so. Hi. So what I want to do, I want to. There's so many groups out there which aren't included. So imagine like Winchester School of Arts. Like they fully have nothing. Like how do they get here? How do they get to Wide Lane? They don't. There's no facilities at Winchester. So that's really appalling. Not gonna lie. And then post-grads as well, it's really hard for them to get into because when you go into sports, it's mainly undergrads. So it's like very awkward to kind of cross that boundary and just like the oldest, more mature students. Internationals, they struggle so much that we see you out there, we know you're struggling. I'm going to help you. I don't know if that's camera. Yeah, so I just want to do so much. One thing I really want to focus on is the AUC committee. So right now, not too many people know about it, and there's not many roles. I want someone to represent every sort of group. So by doing that, people's voice can be heard better, and the chain of feedback would be better to come to me, and then I would be able to actually help them. Yeah, I've got some points as well. Let me read them. So this is on my manifesto if anyone wants to look at it. So yeah, sports bursary, I want to continue that. I want to highlight different groups. I want to make sure sports have a different page on the website, and what that will basically do is it will make sure people can see the different sports. So stuff like extreme sports, not many people can see it. So if that's on the main site, then they can actually like go see it. They can go try it. I want to do a little trial period. So like you said, they're expensive. If you could do a trial period, that would be better because it'll be a bit cheaper. Then you don't have to like commit to something massive. Hopefully we can get the trial period for free. So when you are paying all that money, you don't want to pay all that money and then you don't go, you know what I mean? It's like, that's one thing I want to do. There's so many bits I want to do. Like, I'm so excited. If you want to talk to me more, at Casey Osborne on Instagram. I would love to chat. Love to hear your ideas. Yeah.
So...
Can I make a follow-up point?
Go for it.
I was going to say, I totally agree with you about the AU Council, because I'm on the Athletics Union Council, and I think we really need to give them more power. At the moment, like Matt's done a great job as VP Sports already, but I think really getting the student voice heard and making more roles to include people for sure, and giving them real power so that the uni has to listen to what the students say, instead of just, I guess, stealing money from us all.
And do you think awareness of that group is sort of important in and of itself? Because personally, I'm not a particularly sporty person, but I had no idea that even existed. So, do you think that's a key thing that you'd be keen to, obviously bring to a wider number of students?
Yeah. So one of my manifesto points is to start doing big socials with all sports, and I think that would be a great way to get more people into it, have like a kind of intro taster session, and bring the sporting community together. A lot of the clubs are quite insular, which makes sense because they're all your mates, but I think it also stops people joining them. And I think, like this time, I'm the socials officer on the AUC, and I don't really have any proper role. The uni's kind of cut all the funding for sports social, stuff like varsity, is the only kind of time everyone comes together. And I think that's really powerful. And you can see people who look like you or like don't look like you, and get viewpoints you might not have seen before.
So yeah, shockingly, I'm on the AUC committee as well because I'm IM officer and how you represent. But yeah, it's just as Theo was saying, like we are really underrepresented. Words. Sorry. Yeah. So on the website, we really need a different page for the sports, which has all of them. So if we have a different page on the website, we can start off with the committee members, and then we can go on into the sports fixtures. And I think that would really help just to let people know a bit more. Like that publicity really is missing. And yeah, Theo's points are like so valid. You can see like we both, like sports and clubs are suffering so much. Like that's why we're here. We're really passionate about it, and work needs to be done. Because SUSU's a bit lacking. Sorry guys. Sorry, SUSU people are there.
Say that in the belly of the beast. They'll be downstairs coming.
I'm so sorry.
So Theo, you mentioned the V word, varsity. Obviously, a huge part of the sports that go on at the uni. How are you planning on supporting varsity and other like inter-university like sports competitions?
Okay, so sadly, literally none of the clubs I'm in do varsity because Portsmouth, I guess, isn't big enough or doesn't want to do a surf competition. I think they're kind of harder to do anyway. But I'm going to the after party, so see you there. So right, yeah, I want more competitions to give clubs that aren't represented at varsity, like all the IM stuff. I think we have the like prestige clubs who are really valuable and getting a lot of attention, but there's some really passionate people out there running their own clubs who don't get a look in, and I want to just make it more accessible to run your own competitions. For instance, on Saturday, I'm running a life-saving competition. We've got like 120 students coming down from all over the country to compete. And Jubilee's literally just waived our pool booking fee, which is incredible, after like 2 months of going back and forth, talking to everyone in SUSU, which has been a nightmare because everyone keeps quitting. You've probably had this. Like, you send an email and then you get halfway through an email chain and then it peters out. But yeah, they've like suddenly we found some really good support. Matt has been incredible, and I think, yeah, literally like the people on the AUC and Matt really care a lot, and I think we just need to make it more public and make sure people can reach out to VP of Sports, get support for their competitions and events they want to run. And I think, like you're saying, the sports bursary, the grant application process is really like, yeah, it's pretty terrible. Like, you can, so in surf we run a mental health, a kind of surf taster session with the Wave Project, which helps like disadvantaged kids learn to surf. And we apply for funding for that on our grant round, and because of the grant rules, you can only get 50% of like transport covered. So even though we're not doing it for any of our members, we're doing it for the community. The club is still paying out of our own pocket to put it on, which I think everyone in surf loves doing. But we can definitely get more support where it's needed, and not have to go through the grant round for stuff like accessibility and kind of events that will bring in more diverse crowd, basically.
Casey?
Sorry, I was like so interested. I forgot the question. I was just listening to what you were saying. I was like, oh, that's good.
So specifically, what are your plans to support sort of the inter-university, varsity, like those kind of competitions and stuff?
So yeah, I think to limit ourselves only to Portsmouth isn't good enough because varsity is only Portsmouth. And like, while that's a massive event, everyone loves it. I think we should like kind of spread out there and do some more with different unis. So we do weekly fixtures and loads of different things. Like there's a basketball event happening right now. Sorry, I would have shouted out, but like it's happening right now, so you can't go. Sorry. Look at the results later on. Yeah. So, I think we just need to publicise that a lot more so people actually know there's different events and they can go to it. You don't have to wait one event a year. Like varsity is only over 2 days, but no, there's so much happening right now. People just don't know about it. So I think that's the biggest issue, that people don't know. But yeah, so I want to do that. And then, like you were saying, surfing and that, they don't really know about that either. I've never heard of any surf competition, sadly. I'm not really involved in extreme sports, but sorry.
So one thing that Theo mentioned was in organising the surfing event that you were talking about, that you got the bucking fees waived at the pool.
That was life-saving.
That was life-saving, yeah. Sorry. Which is obviously great for any society that can get anything like that sorted. And so that kind of highlights how in VP of Sports, there's a lot of other groups you have to talk to. There's sport and wellbeing, and there's the university and the various facilities and all these kinds of things. So what are like the key issues around that you think need to be improved, and like the channels of communication that need to be improved when talking to these other kinds of groups that facilitate the sport at uni?
Yeah, I think that's really challenging because I think, first, shout out to Emily, Lifesaving President. She's done amazing work, constantly emailing. But I think it's really hard for the booking team and people at SUSU to give everyone a fair shot. I think the only reason we've had our fee waived was because we've been through so many we haven't got it, all of this chaos. And I think it's hard to stop the big clubs and nepotism kind of getting all the resources. So Lifesaving's a small club, so I'm really happy to see them getting the platform they deserve. I think that having a bigger AUC council with more representative officers would be helpful. And I think just instead of looking at clubs as competing for resources, I think having more events where we come together and share and pool resources just makes people more aware, gives more publicity, and it means, in water sports, pretty much all the clubs have their own wetsuits and stuff. There's not really any reason we can't share resources like wetsuits, besides unless everyone wants to go on a trip on the weekend. But you can definitely get around that. I think there needs to be more community spirit within clubs. I think.
Casey?
I think we're thinking a bit small here because we only talk about the clubs, but don't forget sports and wellbeing deal with so many other things. The gym and the different facilities around Wide Lane, the different university gyms. So loads of people don't do clubs, sadly, but they do go to the gym or they want to use other resources. I think we need to extend what we do have. So they're doing the expansion in Jubilee. I think we really need to guide that, make sure students have a voice in it, and they're not raising the gym fee, which is, it's proper teeth. Do you know how much it is? Does anyone know? It's 20 quid. It's too much. Sorry, little rant. So stuff like that, we need to make sure it's not going higher because that gym fee, loads of people go. It's always busy in there. I'm pretty sure you know. Yeah. So I think you need to do that. But they also lack in other ways. Like the sports halls, so many times they have issues they're leaking, so you can't even book the court. And when you can't book the court, it cancels different things, and then that's where the fights come from because then you're competing for that space, and it's really hard to get that, and then it will go to the bigger societies, which is really upsetting. Stuff like Wide Lane as well, if we can improve their facilities, they have a gym there but no one really uses it. If we can expand the Jubilee opening times, that will ease the pressure a little bit. Even if it's just 1 more hour, that would do a lot more. Where was I going with this? My mind. Yeah, and then more basketball stuff in Wide Lane because loads of times I was talking to someone in basketball today and their issue is they don't really get much time on basketball. But if we can make sure that some services like that can go to Wide Lane as well, that now will ease it a little bit more and they can have some more training time. So I think it's just like making sure people are actually heard and why sports and wellbeing listen to us. Yeah, so that's one thing.
And more minibuses, please. Thank you.
Oh, yes. That is it. That is such a big issue because no one can get there.
Yeah, we're always fighting over minibuses. Well, I don't know why they got rid of them. We'll find out. One of us will find out. Right.
So you run together as a joint candidate. It would be such a...
We're not allowed to endorse each other.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Fair enough. So is there anything around sport that you think is some burning issue that you've noticed, or that is something that you think deserves more attention but nobody else here knows about, that is just not talked about, or is not known by people outside of sport maybe, but that actually maybe impacts them in a way they don't quite realise?
There's loads of like sport drama, but I think it's just within sport. Yeah. I can't think of some crazy secret that no one knows. I think everyone knows the problems, and I think the students always know what's wrong, and they just need to be listened to.
So, Casey, can you? Or
sports drama, I would say that sports actually use so many bits, but no one really knows about it. Like, people put so much training in, people put so much time and effort into it, and like the impact that sports have on the university is massive. Like, student well-being, without sports, it would be like a shock and low. Like, let's be real, all of us are struggling during uni. Like, I'm third year, and I literally yeah, sports is a way to cope, and I don't think many people understand that. So it's really about welfare, and we do care for people doing sports. And then another way they don't really care about us is like, no offense, I think money. I don't know. Do you get this? I feel like societies find it easier to go through grants rather than clubs. Do you feel that?
Like sports versus like, yeah, I know. Well, specifically, I know Phil Sock hates the grant funding proposals because I always get more money than them. But
yeah. Oh, I don't know then. But yeah, I think there's so much. And then with sports as well, we actually, if you look at the posts on Instagram, we have high insights in clubs and then societies. So we bring a lot in, but we aren't really getting that recognition. Like, sports are doing so much. Like, just please rate us a little bit. Like, I can't. I'm sorry.
So we've highlighted here a lot of things. You're saying that, you both kind of agree on what the problems are, and that the problems are quite well known. That leaves me with another question for both of you then, which is that if you are elected, of those problems, what is that number one issue that will be the first thing you feel like this is what we have to tackle, and this is the most important thing?
I think the biggest issue, like Cassie said, is that we're third years. Everyone's here to do a degree at the end of the day, and committee members are giving up their time to put on awesome events for students, but they need the support. They need more money or more time, more resources. You can't expect students to give up their time like every day for free. And people still do. It's crazy. It's so cool. But I think just get more funding allocated and just share it and use it better. I think one of my manifesto points is get all the clubs to do a strategy plan, which I've done with SUSU before, which is super helpful. That's one thing they're amazing at, is they have so much institutional knowledge. They know where clubs go wrong in the past. But getting that to committees is quite a challenge because no one wants to listen to SUSU really. Like, they're the enemy, even though they actually do a lot of amazing work. I think we need to work together better, and I think we can do more with what we have. We don't need to find, it would be nice, but we're not going to find a magic pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Like, we just need to use what we have better, and use the amazing talents of people at the uni more efficiently, I think.
Yeah. So I agree. We do need increase we need higher support for like so many people doing sports. But then I would say, all right, hear me out. This is going to be a bit weird, but the website, yeah. If we can fix that website, then we can do so much through that, because then we can highlight the AUC committee. We can actually recognise achievements for the different sporting societies and actually shout them out and be like, well done. Like, sometimes all you need to say is like, well done to these people. They actually do bits, and then like they feel happier. And then another thing, I think, yeah, getting the fixtures out there, that will help. And then people would actually know what's happening. They will come and support teams. Another thing, I don't know if anyone's mentioned this, but increased transparency. So if we put that on the website and make sure people can see hidden costs for sporting societies, I think that would actually be really helpful to like prospective members, because sometimes the information is kind of like a bit lacking, so it's kind of harder. Yeah, so the website is a major thing, which is practical. It can be done. It's a bit boring, but it's important.
Well, on the transparency point, we've talked a lot about the kind of things that are sort of problems in sport, but then not so much about the position vice president of sport itself. Yeah. Do you think there's kind of an issue around people being aware of what VP for Sports can do and how to access them, and what they can do for we have all these amazing clubs that might need some help that the VP for Sport could massively give them, but they're not quite aware that it's there to be obtained. How would you want to combat that? Either way.
Okay. I agree, because the current VP of Sports, shout out Matt, he's amazing. Loads of people actually don't know him. So I think we do need to kind of push it a bit more. Recently, they've been doing more on their SUSU subs page, which is, I think that's really good, because then people can actually see their face. They can see they're relatable, you can talk to them. And then, so by knowing that, like, they're actually present, they're here to help, that would be good. And maybe on the pages or whatever, we can actually tell people, like, look, this is what we can do. Or even talk to people more in person. Because, like, as VP of Sports, I would kind of want to drop by a training session sometimes. Just be like, hi, I'm here. Like, do you want to talk to me about anything? And just be, like, overseeing what they're doing. So I think that's sometimes nice, just for people to actually know you're alive, you exist. You're not just in an office. Like, no, you're here to do the groundwork. You're here to actually know them and, like, have a relationship with these clubs and to actually help them. Yeah.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I was saying that we've talked a lot about sports as a kind of the whole thing, but not about the role. And there's a lot of, VP of Sports obviously does a lot of good work and makes a lot of things happen, but that students and clubs don't know that they're there. And so how would you combat that? How would you make sure that people were aware of you or of the role?
Yeah, so I think there's a bit of an attitude that SUSU is like the big bad wolf. But they're not really. They are here to help us, and I think if we stop trying to like fight SUSU and get around all the rules and stuff, and we just work together better as a team, the transparency and the communication and knowing people are there to help you will be a lot more apparent. And I think that like you only know Matt's available if you've heard of him. And once you message him and the whole team does amazing work to help you. But that's kind of my whole point is if you make a strategy plan for your club, talk to SUSU about what you want to do, what your visions are, what your plans are, and they can tell you, like, this is the support we have, here are the people you should contact. Instead of kind of sending an email into the maze of SUSU email chains, which like is impossible to do really. I think having a clearer view of what clubs want to do, what they need, and what SUSU can give them, and what the VP of Sports person can give them, be a lot more helpful.
Yeah, final point, Casey.
Okay. Just like you're saying, SUSU actually are really good. So currently it's mainly one person that does it, called Sarah Chalice. She is amazing. She like overworks herself so much. So I don't know, is this possible? I think we should like hire more people for the sports, because technically right now it's only really Sarah Chalice and Matt. That's two people. There's like loads and loads of different clubs, so we actually need like a bigger team to deal with it. Like Sarah does the most. She's actually helped me start up IM Squash. Anyone wants to join, it's still open. I don't know, contact me and sign up because we need more people, please. So she actually is really hardworking. She does so much, but like we need a bigger team to actually do more. Yeah.
Well, fantastic.
I was going to say, if I think we both want to expand the AUC committee, give them more power, or just it's a volunteer role. Maybe we could change that. I mean, I don't know how the politics work, if you can give them salaries or what, but I guess that's like the VP Sport in the end. Yeah. But yeah, something that we can do to make more people, I don't know, it's hard to say because like we don't know how much funding SUSU has, we don't know what
of course.
long-term plans are, we can't make false promises, we can just kind of talk about it.
But the ideas are there, and that's what matters.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for taking part. It's been great. You can shout out your team if you want. Yeah, go on.
Lachlan, I know you're napping, but thank you for all your help.
So yeah, thanks for coming along. It's been really good, and thank you for watching the Meet the Candidates with the Vice President for Sports, or the candidates. I've been Peter Kirk for Surge Media. Thank you.